Hey guys, and welcome to my summary of the patch 7.15 patch notes. Starting off, we're looking at new quest line for crafters and gatherers, starting with the quest Appreciated Value from Tuliolul of X 16.1 and Y 11.1 talking to the NPC Ropely. Prerequisites to this is that you complete the main scenario quest Crossroads and then all of the Walamwalawakiki quests. Following that, we are looking at even more Hildebrand quests, inconceivably further Hildebrand adventures to be more specifically, and that is from Disciple of War Magic, talking to Nashu Makakas at Tuliolul X 14.5 and Y of 12.5. In order to activate this, you need to complete the Dawn Trail main quest line from 7.0, and then the quest Gentleman at Heart. We're getting a brand new custom delivery, this time featuring Magnus and his wife. This can be unlocked by talking to the railroad employee. Damn. There are so many terrible, horrible jokes that just went through my mind. Just railroad employee, they don't even get a name. Ouch. But this is at Tuliolul of X 14.1 and Y of 12.1. And what you need is a Disciple of the Hand, and that needs to be at level 90. Now, if you're listening to the audio and have the patch notes open beside you, I'm going to be skipping down to the bottom where they continue to describe the custom deliveries here. And so they say by completing these custom deliveries, players can receive Gil, experience points, crafter scripts, or gatherer scripts. That's why you can do it at level 90. And this is going to be just a really good way of leveling up them and getting some bonus rewards. Also, crafter gatherer scripts are always pretty useful. Now they added a bunch of new housing items. This includes a bunch of the job stones, which I think is super cool. Although one thing does stick out here, and I wonder if anyone else caught it immediately. This is just the Realm Reborn jobs. Where's the other jobs? But Scholar's looking great. I think Scholar's just pops. No bias there, no bias there. But aside from that, we're looking at some amazing housing outdoor items that I absolutely love. And, like, we're definitely, like, or at least I'm surprised to see, like, the laser cannon there. I definitely feel like I need it to shoot down the Paisa houses. Thankfully, just given where my houses are, there's no Paisa houses, but thankfully, just in case one crops up, we can get laser cannons. And then the indoor housing items, I think that they're pretty cool. I definitely am a fan of the computer monitor for terribly obvious reasons. God, am I really gonna have computers in game too? FML, probably. We're getting a brand new hairstyles, which I also presume is not for Rothgars, which even though I don't think this is particularly the style that I would want, because it has like the flowers in the hair and stuff, I'm still like, look, Rothgars! And Vieira too. Shakes fist in the air. But I do think that it's a pretty cute hairstyle if you're into that, like, what is it? The like hippie stuff? I think that that's really cool. And wasn't it Taylor Swift had like beads in her hair for her tour? When are we getting beads? Next up is that we are getting the introduction of the Chaotic Alliance raids, starting with Cloud of Darkness. This is going to be unlocked on Christmas Eve, so it's not going to be on the Tuesday that's coming up. For that, it is going to be specifically on Christmas Eve. In order to participate, you just need a combat job at level 100 and your average item level to be 710 or above. So very, very, very accessible. Like super accessible, like just crafted gear off of the market board and you're good. If you have a preformed party of like 12 to 24 players, because it does allow a very wide gap, 12 to 24, but they did say it's balanced in live letters that it's balanced around 24. You don't need to obey any of these role restrictions, but otherwise the role requirements are 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 4 DPS. And yeah, so if you want to join as a preformed party, so 8 players, you need to obey the 2 tank, 2 healer, 4 DPS. But if you join as an alliance, a preformed alliance, you can join without any role restrictions. In terms of rewards from here, we are looking at them describing it with a token system. This exchange of your tokens for rewards is done by Uashipia in Solution 9, X of 8.7, Y of 13.5. However, interestingly enough, to Chaotic Alliance raids, which I think is really good because it incentivizes you to bring friends who may otherwise not do it, is that there are two bonuses. The one that I think is most prominent is the first time completion bonus, that if there's one or more players that are new to the duty, you're going to get significantly more tokens. That is clearly going to be very good and incentivizes you to bring in players and get them involved. And then the next thing is that it has a limited time bonus. And so certain period of times, although they did not specify it here, which I kind of am curious why, I'm a little worried because sometimes, I'm going to be real, ever since earlier this year, my sleep schedule's been sporadic, so I'm like, oh god, can this please not be like during work hours? Please? I'm just a mere software engineer that does day job. Please have mercy on me. But basically, during this time window, whenever they choose it to be, there is going to be a bonus rewards given to you. What I will say is that isn't a novel concept, because we have seen that with things like light farming. For anyone who's familiar with the Heavensward relic line, there would be certain bonuses in certain areas. So this isn't a totally novel idea, but from what I suppose is that this is to basically be like, hey, instead of just trying to queue randomly through the day, which people will still try and do, let's try and make it so that everyone's really incentivized to try and queue into it at a particular time, just to get a higher circulation of players at the time. Which honestly, I do believe will work, because, hey, if you can cut down, the time to grind out a armor set, for instance, why not? We are going to go through a whirlwind tour of PvP balance changes, and so this is going to be pretty quick, just because I know people want this video to be as trim as possible. Paladin's Guardian is going to have its recast time increased from 24 to 30 seconds, so that's a nerf. Holy Sheltron is going to have the damage dealt with Sword Oath increased to 15% from 10%, so that's a 50% buff. Reduction to damage taken from Shield Oath has been nerfed from 20 to 15%, so Paladin's defensives nerfed, Paladin slightly offensively buffed. Monk's Wind's Reply are getting two buffs. First of all, they are getting a little bit of a duration bonus to their movement speed, it's just 1 second, and then they are looking at a bit more potency from 8,000 to 10,000 of the damage from pressure point. Now we're looking for Earth's Reply from the Monk being buffed, so we're looking at 2,000 to 3,000, so the flat number here, and then we are looking at the other cure potency from 4,000 to 6,000. The percentages of compiled damage haven't changed. 2 Dragoon damage buffs to High Jump and Star Cross. Samurai's looking at 3 damage nerfs. They're not too severe, but they are definitely nerfs. Hisatsu, Chaiten, Hisatsu Sotun, and Zanshin. Looking at 4 Viper buffs. So Rattling Coil has its recast time reduced by 15 seconds to 45, and then you are also going to have your recast time reduction when you get a kill increased from 10 to 15 seconds, so you're going to be using Rattling Coil a lot more often. Both of the uncoiled abilities, Twin Fang and Twin Blood, are getting their recast time reduced from 1 to 0.7 seconds, probably for flow reasons. And then World Swallower is having its damage amplification from 20 to 25%. Bard is looking at 2 of their own personal damage buffs. Repelling Shot and Pitch Perfect are just getting a little bit more damage. Machinist is just getting a little bit more potency on Drill. Black Mage is straight up getting buffed on Paradox. They are getting 50% more damage from 6,000 to 9,000, so probably the biggest damage buff we've seen here. And then Xenoglossy is simply getting a new effect tacked on, saying it absorbs 50% of damage dealt as HP. So a little bit of vampirism on that ability now. Or Lifesteal. I should use Lifesteal from League of Legends. Summoner's getting a defensive buff. It is just 5% more damage reduction from Radiant Aegis. 3 buffs for Pictomancer. Tempera Coat is having its recast time reduced to 20 seconds, so 4 seconds shaved off of there. And if the shield is completely dispersed, like completely used up, we're looking at from 8 seconds down to 5 seconds. Same thing with their AoE ability if it's completely used up. And then Star Prism has its effect duration increased from 10 to 15 seconds, so that's 50% more, so that's pretty good. For Scholar, we're looking at 3 buffs, and I don't really want to call one effect a nerf, but it may be interpreted as a nerf by some. So Biolysis, their damage over time effect, has been increased by 50% from 2,000 to 3,000 damage. However, when you're using Recitation, it used to double your damage. Now it's just going to add 50% more damage. Off the top of my head, not even thinking about it, 3,000 multiplied by 0.5 is 1,500. 1,500 plus 3,000 is going to be 4,500. And then 2,000 doubled multiplied by 2 is going to be 4,000. And so this is still a net buff, even though Recitation says only 50%. The thing is, you're taking that reduced multiplier on a significantly higher number. So this is not a Scholar nerf. Chain Stratagem's effect has been increased from 6 to 10 seconds. And then for Seraphic Halo, we're looking at a little bit of a buff from 8,000 to 9,000 potency. We're looking at Astrologian getting quite a few nerfs here. So Aspect of Benefic, it is going from 4,000 to 3,000, much less healing potency there. That will definitely be felt, that's 25%. And then Gravity 2, we are looking at its damage being reduced. Yes, we are. But the more important thing is probably the heavy effect duration has been increased to 3 seconds from 2, but, and this is why it's a, in my opinion, nerf, is it only applies to the first target. And then when you double cast Gravity, same thing is applied, a little bit less damage, but it only applies to the first target. However, for Gravity 2, when double casted, you are looking at the heavy effect, which is a slow, change to bind, so that in and of itself is a bit better. Minor Arcana is painfully being reduced from 20 seconds to 10 seconds, so that's significantly less time to utilize that. And then for Epicycle, the barrier effect also has been halved from 10 to 5 seconds, so kind of severe, not gonna lie. Now we're looking at 4 Sage buffs. So Numa is now going to give you a 25 or 1/3 buff to their shield from 3,000 to 4,000, and then when you heal, like when the shield effect, Hymenyaton or whatever, expires, it is going to be 4,000 healing per stack rather than 3,000, so they're bumping up that number 2 to match. And then from Eucrasia, we're looking at that having its recast time reduced from 16 to 12 seconds, so we're looking at a 25% reduction in that. And then Psyche is having its total potency increased from 10,000 to 12,000, so that's quite a substantial buff. And then Toxicon is a AoE ability for Sage, and so they're saying for enemies after the first, they're buffing the AoE portion of Toxicon, doubling it from 2,000 to 4,000, so Sage is going to have a lot more AoE efficacy. Likewise, as I was going through that, you've probably seen on the screen for a while, new items, the armor sets from the Chaotic Alliance raid, new minion, new mount from it. They actually look really cool. I mean, mounts, there's 2 different mounts, so cool rewards. But with that, I'm closing this video out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.